my Uranus card is the Seven of Spades. It's your Saturn card, but it's my Uranus card. And spiritual consciousness is the meaning of the Seven of Spades. So I'm non-conforming in my spiritual consciousness, which is exactly what you just said from my astrological code. So that's very interesting.
Yep.
That one maps exactly.
Very cool.
And I am, in a sense, very real sense, consciously rebellious against what I would call the biblical monotheistic paradigm, where I'm not satisfied simply to teach these cards as a parlor trick or as an adjunct to the main whatever metaphysical model of our society, which is the biblical monotheistic model. I want to tear the whole thing down and replace it with a more fundamental truth of our reality, which is look at ourselves through the numbers and through the stars. Right? This is older than biblical monotheism. It's much more ancient and more accurate, and it makes space for everybody to be uniquely them without trying to conform everybody into a one-size-fits-all monochromatic model.
Exactly.
So I want to tear the whole thing down. So that's my spiritual rebellion.
Welcome to the Weekly Transit. Interviews and conversations from an astrological lens. There's nothing more fascinating to me about this earth than the people who inhabit it. My mission is to create deep, vulnerable, and open conversations that invite our unique guests to share the arc of their ever-evolving journey through life, in the hope that their stories inspire and resonate with you, our listeners. I'm your host, Scott Tajarian. What is up? Welcome to the Weekly Transit. I am back here with Alexander Dunlop. He is the author of this amazing book, Play Your Cards Right, A Sacred Guide to Life on Earth. We've had him on the show twice before. This is your third time back. Welcome, Alexander.
Scott, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
it's great to talk to you again.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here. And just for those who don't know, who haven't met with Alexander before, just a background on the primal triad. Alexander is a Virgo sun, a Libra moon, and a Capricorn rising. So welcome back, Alexander. Let's talk about what we're going to talk about. You had a really interesting idea of, what you wanted to talk about today on this episode. It was interesting to me. Why don't you share a little bit about what you're interested in discussing today?
Sure, and maybe even let's start with a little context, even maybe for those who have seen the previous two episodes, just to put a little context, that the deck of 52 playing cards is actually an ancient system of knowledge that was hidden in plain sight. Based on our date of birth, we all have 13 cards in our life path, and these cards move through a planetary progression. So we'll have like our birth card is like our sun card, and then we'll have a Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto card. So it does overlap with astrology, this ancient system, and our birth card is determined purely based on numbers, esoteric numbers, but then whatever is our personality card is determined by the planet that rules the sign that we're born into. So I'm born into Virgo, as you point out, and Mercury rules Virgo. So the Mercury card in my life path becomes like my persona, my outer facing kind of identity. So there's a lot of overlap in this system with astrology.
Yes.
And one of the things that I started to notice that we're going to talk about today is that the meaning of the planets appears to be synonymous with the meaning of the numbers. So the Mercury card is the second card in my life path after my sun card, my birth card. And interestingly enough, that makes the sun card the number one card, and then Mercury the number two card, and so on. And I started to notice that the meaning of the number two is very similar to the way astrologers would talk about the meaning of Mercury. So that's something that I reached out to you that I'd like to explore further, because I don't know astrology as in depth as you do. Okay, what are those correspondences? What are the correspondences between the numerology, the meaning of the numbers, with the astrology, the meaning of the planets? And maybe there's a fertile understanding that we can come to by cross referencing the meanings. For instance, I feel like I understand the planet Uranus more fully now by applying the meaning of the number seven to it, because it's the seventh card in the life path. And so there's a lot of different ways in which I've noticed that. And here we are today to talk about it.
So, to help me make sense of everything that you're discussing here, I always have to refer back, and I'm looking at your book, to my number.
Yep.
I'm a 7 of clubs.
Hmm.
I was born on November 13th. And so the planetary ruler of Scorpio is Mars. And so is that why my personal card is the Jack of
Clubs.
Clubs?
Your personality is the Jack of Clubs based on the fact that the Jack of Clubs is the Mars card in your life path.
Uh-huh.
For most people, that planetary card, the Jack of Clubs for you, is almost more significant for them in their life as their sense of self, their sense of self identity. And whenever I would explain this to people, I'd be like, "Well, it's your planetary ruling card, and it's your planetary," and people with eyes would glaze over, and
Yeah, yeah.
I'd be like, "It's like your personality. That's what it is." And they'd be like,
Mhm.
"Oh, okay," and that would
Yeah.
always resonate. So shorthand, I always just started calling it your personality card. It's derived from your planetary card. That's where it comes from. But people are more identified with it. And so it is like their personality in life. And for you, that's the Jack of Clubs, the
Hmm.
Prince of Knowledge.
And how does the 7 of clubs end up as my what would that be? That would be
Your
the
birth card,
birth card. Yeah. How is that?
which in astrology is like your sun sign.
Okay.
It's calculated based on the numbers of the month and the day. So I'm not going to go into the formula per se on the show, but it's a simple mathematical algorithm that calculates based on the number of the month and the day what the card is of that day, because all of the 52 cards have a solar value, it's called.
Hmm.
So like the ace of hearts is number 1 all the way up to the king of spades is number 52, and based on the solar values, each month and day has a number, and that number corresponds to one of the 52 cards.
Hmm.
So, if we wanted to be kind of more technical, we could say you have a numerology card and you have a planetary card. But in layman's terms, we say you have a birth card and a personality card.
Okay.
And that birth card is often a little more hidden for people, as I mentioned, until
Hmm.
they develop, until they kind of let their light shine a little more, because the birth card is your sun shining energy. It's the light that you're here to shine. And the seven of clubs is spiritual knowledge. So you have a lot of spiritual knowledge that you're here to offer, and you would offer it through the lens of the Jack of Clubs, who is the witty, clever, sharp, intelligent prince who
Yeah.
may think he has all the answers. But
Yes.
he often does have all the answers, but maybe not all the time. But there's a lot
I
of
can't
spiritual knowledge for you to share.
I can't tell you how many times people have said, "Oh, you think you know everything or you have all the answers."
That's
Yeah.
the downside of the Jack of
I
Clubs.
guess so. Yeah, I try not to come off that way, but I guess it's hard not to.
We read
So,
each other's energy.
yeah.
We are, even people who don't know anything about astrology or the cards. We're, as human beings, we tend to be able to read each other's energy and even sometimes put words to it, like in the example that you're giving. People may just get that vibe, and it's
Hmm.
interesting. It tells me there's not that we need to know this, but tells me that there's a lot of accuracy to these ancient systems, where people can
Absolutely.
intuitively just start figuring it out and
Hmm.
seeing it that way.
So, talking about the planets and their connection to the cards.
To the
What
numbers. To
the
the numbers.
numbers, the
Yeah.
numbers.
The
So not
numbers
necessarily the
themselves.
cards, but the numbers themselves. Okay.
So, for example, we have the first 9 cards in our life path are planetary cards, the 1 through 9.
Mm.
And we actually have a moon card, which is the 0, which is the kind of behind us in our life path.
Okay.
And so we have a moon card, which is number 0. We have a birth
Mm.
card, which is the number 1, a
Mm.
Mercury number 2, Venus number 3, Mars number 4, Jupiter number 5, Saturn number 6, Uranus number 7, Neptune number 8, and Pluto number 9. And then
Mm.
after that, we move into the upper decade. But those first 9 cards are interpreted through the lens of what does your Venus card mean? And for example, your Venus card is the Queen of Spades. So we'd interpret that Queen of Spades through the lens of the Venus energy and say, that's that's your feminine side, that's your home life, that's what you would like in a woman. And that was kind of the way I originally learned these cards, is that you interpret the life path through the planets. And then again, I started to notice that, well, if the Venus card is the third card in your life path, then stands to reason it would have the meaning of the number 3 as well. So that's how I got into this question that I'm bringing up with you to look into, is the possibility of interpreting Venus as the number 3. And then what does that give us? Does that give us a broader understanding of the planet Venus? And
Mm.
by cross referencing, does the planet's Venus attributes give us more understanding of the number 3? That we can enrich our understanding of the meaning of the number 3 and also the meaning of the planet Venus by looking at their conjunction together.
So, what is the meaning of the number 3?
Well, let's do it. So the meaning of the numbers is represented through their pip pattern. So it's a visual pattern. So the 3, I'm using diamonds as an example. The
Yes.
3 is a straight line.
Okay.
So a straight line is, we're going in this direction. We're creating our own way. It's a single line. It's a tender, sensitive energy, as opposed to, let's say, for example, the number 4, which is a square
Mm.
box energy.
Yeah.
The 3 is more of a sensitive energy, and it's an energy that's about creating your own way and marching
Mm.
to the beat of your own drum. It can be, it's like your inner compass that you might use to find your way in life. Now, that's not, I know, typically what people might say the planet Venus means, but I'm curious for what the cross reference might be. One of the things that I find symbolically interesting is the number 3 is Venus and the number 4 is Mars. It's
Mm-hmm.
almost like a rudimentary female and male shape, like the square, the box, the strength, and the femininity of the single line. Very
Mm.
rudimentary, but symbolically female and male. Um, so, yeah, your thoughts on that? What do you
Well,
see there?
yeah. So, the way you were describing 3 and the way that I could connect that to the energy of Venus is, Venus is about the senses. It's about my likes and dislikes, what I value, what I don't value. And so uh, I think that is what resonates most strongly to me in terms of how you were describing the number
Yeah,
3.
it's my own personal compass, my own way that
Yeah,
I like. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, this is what I value. This is what's important to me. I like this food. I like these clothes. I like this furniture. That's what Venus is not just about relationships. And when you think about maybe the number 3, like the 3 diamonds, you could think about it is like, symbolically, you've got the one on the top, the one on the bottom, and the one in the middle. And maybe The one in the middle indicates where the one on the top and the one on the bottom come together. Because,
Yeah.
Venus, the reason why Venus is the planet of relationships and the senses is you want to be in relationship with somebody who to some degree values what you value. You don't want to be in relationship with somebody who disagrees with you on every single subject.
Right.
You want Chinese food, they want pizza. You want to watch a action film, they want to watch a rom-com. You want to go to the park, they want to go, do something else. It's like you don't want there needs to be, maybe some friction, but if it's all friction, there's not going to be peace.
So you're describing alignment. You want alignment.
Yes. Yes.
That's really interesting. I appreciate you saying that. What would you say then about, at least the way I've heard Venus astrologically, it's like it's a planet of family and home. Do you see it that
Oh,
way?
no, I don't think of Venus as the planet of family and home. That's the
Oh,
moon. That's the
ah,
moon.
okay.
The moon is the home. The moon is the family. The moon is the
Interesting.
emotions. You share you save your emotions for your family. The home is where you can be emotional. You can show your emotions in the home in a way that you're not necessarily going to show your emotions in public the same way that you share them or show them in the home.
Okay, so that's interesting. That's, whoops. Maybe I just heard, yeah, like, yeah, more generic understandings of Venus. I appreciate
Mm,
that distinction between the moon and
yeah.
Venus.
Yes. And then
Okay,
Mars, when you think of Mars, for like it's a square, and squares in astrology represent tension and
that's right.
conflict.
That's true.
And so, if you square off with somebody, that's a fight.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And that's the energy of Mars. It's the
that's
god of war.
really interesting.
Yes.
And okay, I like that. And the way I've thought of how the four energy is like the planet Mars is all about how do I build some structure for myself? How do I go
Hmm.
after my goals?
Hmm.
And the four is about like rolling up my sleeves and doing the work and kind of
Hmm.
really digging in and setting the foundation. Slightly different than at least my understanding of a classical interpretation of Mars, but I see the symmetry there. Like Mars, if Mars is your aggressive energy that you're going to utilize to go after your goals, then you're going to want to put structure and order and foundation in your life, or you're never going to reach your goals.
Hmm.
That's kind of part and parcel of going after your goals, is setting the stage for them. So that's how I've thought of that correspondence.
And that's interesting in uh, associating Mars with goals and going after goals, because Mars is exalted in the sign of Capricorn, and Capricorn is symbolized by the goat, and the goat is determined to get from the valley to the mountaintop. That's their goal.
Hmm,
So,
interesting.
yes.
And then again, the basic symbolism of the single line as female and the square
Uh-huh.
as male. So that to me maps closely on the idea of Venus and Mars. Do you, in your astrology, do you ascribe a strong feminine to Venus and a strong masculine to Mars?
Oh yeah, for sure. Venus is the goddess of love and beauty. Mars is the god of war. That doesn't mean that they're exclusive to male or female. We all have Venus in our chart and we all have Mars in our chart. And, when I see, typically, if I see women that are born with Mars in Aries, they're going to have some more masculine qualities. It doesn't mean that they are men, but they have they can be aggressive. They can be intimidating. Whereas men who are born with, say, Venus in Libra are going to express more feminine qualities. They're going to be more peaceful and potentially into aesthetics more and love than conflict.
I think I have Venus in Libra.
Let's see. You have Venus in Libra. Exactly. Yeah, you do. Yeah. So that's a feminine planet in a position of power because it's in the sign that it rules. So, you know, it doesn't mean that you're not competitive or you don't like sports or that sort of stuff, but you also just like your senses gravitate towards peace and harmony and love and beauty.
And so if we put that together, it's like that's what aligns me. Like that's what I'm wanting to have as my alignment, symbolized by Venus and Libra. That's what my alignment might look like.
Yes.
Something like that. I'm
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 also Venus in Libra.
are you
You're my Venus in Libra brother. Yeah. Yeah.
right on.
We're the
But yet
peacemakers.
we have different Venus cards in our life path. So that's
Mm.
interesting that then according to the cards, we would the way that our alignment would look to us would be different.
Well,
So
and there is differences to our Venuses though as
okay,
well,
okay,
because I mean you were born with Venus in the ninth house, which is associated with the ninth sign, which is Sagittarius,
mm,
and I was born with Venus in the sixth house,
mm,
which is associated with the sixth sign, which is Virgo. So, but my Venus is
interesting.
also in alignment with my Saturn. It's also aligning with my Mars. So my Venus is within 2 degrees of both my Saturn and Mars, which also shifts the nuance
Yep,
of what that means, of what
that's
Venus means.
that's really interesting.
Mm.
And just as an aside, then, for my own knowing, is it true then that the 12 zodiac signs rule the 12 houses in order, 1 through 12,
I don't really think of it as like ruling them, but
or
they're associated with them.
associated?
It's like the energy of each house reflects the order of the signs.
It
So
does.
like the
Okay.
first
Yeah.
the first sign is Aries. That rules Aries rules the head. That's where your face is. And the first house is the house of personality.
Mm,
So you would identify somebody's personality more with their head than with their feet, you know? And so, because the way that you communicate and the expressions that I see on your face, that's what's indicative of personality.
right. Yeah. Okay. So, and then, yeah. So it maps 1 through 12, 1 through 12
Hmm.
for the signs and the houses. Okay. Just clarifying.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
enjoying learning astrology. I told you before we got on, I've been studying astrology more recently.
Yeah,
I've been getting
good,
into it.
good.
I'm glad I found the cards without any lens of astrology, because one of the things that did for me is that I started looking at the cards as its own explanatory tool, rather than putting astrology on it already. But
Yes,
now I'm very interested in astrology. I was telling you to see these correspondences and how they connect. It's fascinating.
I love it.
So, okay, so that's Venus and Mars symbolized by the 3 and the 4 and these
Uh huh.
patterns. Let's step back and say that the sun sign is the birth card is the one, and the one is a
Hmm.
single dot, like
Yeah,
on this Ace of Diamonds. And the idea of the single dot is that it's kind of like a big bang of like, here I am, world.
yeah.
And it's the energy of wanting to be a master at what you do. So that
Hmm.
would suggest that whatever is the sun sign, that's what that's about for us. Does that map with your idea understanding of the sun sign?
Well, the sun sign, the sun is the planet of light, life, and vitality. This is when I see that one symbol, that's the ace of diamonds, right?
Yeah.
And that's if you draw four aces, you've won, right? Is that how? I mean,
Yeah, in
that
poker.
well, so
Yeah.
there's yeah, so there's great power in the ace, and that's the sun. Like the sun is it's the ultimate. It's if there's no sun, there's no life on earth.
Right.
So the sun is your identity.
It's our life. Yeah.
It's your identity. This is like the battery that's powering your human ship.
Because whatever is our birth card is our life's purpose. And so
Okay.
for
So
you, it's
that's
the
a
sun.
little different because I think of life's purpose as the North Node, which is
Mm-hmm.
maybe a little more nuanced. I
Mm-hmm.
don't, so like your life's purpose isn't necessarily to be
A Virgo.
Virgo.
Right.
That's just who you are. You are a Virgo. Like every bit of your identity, whether it's how you communicate or how you love, how you deal with conflict or express your emotions, is tied to that Virgo piece. It's emanating power through all of those other aspects. And when I look at the ace and I see that one, like, you can't have two without having one.
Yeah.
You
It's the
can't
starting
have
point.
four without having one. You
Right.
can't have any number without having one is first. So that to me is the connection between the sun, that it's the beginning
Yes.
and
Yeah.
it's
It's the
the
beginning.
ultimate.
It's the beginning. It's the starting point. All life starts there.
It's the beginning and the end. It's like, because you can't go back to zero without passing one. You can't move forward from zero without crossing one. And so that's what the sun is. It's the beginning and the end.
Okay, and this is an interesting distinction. I'm curious to explore it a little further that the
Huh?
sun sign is not the life's purpose, because that's true in astrology. We're moving towards our north node.
Hmm.
It's interesting. So,
Yeah, it's your identity. It's the battery that's powering your human ship. It's how you identify. If somebody says, "What's your sign?" You're not going to say, "Oh, I'm a Libra, Venus in Libra." No, you're going to say, "I'm a Virgo." I'm going to say, "I'm a Scorpio." That's how you identify.
and then you would see life purpose in the astrology chart in the north node. Like that's the
Yes.
direction we're going in. Hmm.
Yes. Or it's not necessarily the direction you're going in, it's the direction that you are being pushed towards, whether you are willingly going towards it or pushing back is up to you. That's your free will.
Right.
The more you push back, the more challenging life will be. The more you allow yourself to move down that path, the more supported you will feel.
Hmm. So that's for further reflection for me then on the connection in the cards to this understanding of life purpose. There is a directionality in our life path in the cards. We do have 13 cards in our life path where the idea is there's, so I said the first nine are planetary, but there's also just the idea that you have 13 cards and you're moving toward your 13th, where the 13th is the number of the king. So
Mm.
13 is the number of the king, 12 the queen, 11 the jack, and 10 is the princess without a face. So there is this idea of in the cards of a journey destination toward whatever is that 13th card, your king card in your life. So I'm gonna that's a further reflection moment
Okay.
because I do teach it that we are moving toward that as like our it's our lighthouse in the on the horizon that we're moving toward that. So for you, the 13th card in your life path is the Eight of Hearts.
Mm.
And where the journey starts, the Seven of Clubs, the spiritual thinker, it ends at the Eight of Hearts, which is the powerful heart energy that gathers a tribe.
Mm.
And it's a healing energy too. And so there is the idea of moving through stages every 7 years in the journey on each of the cards, to get to the final destination. But it's not something that I would have said like the Eight of Hearts is your life's purpose. It's more like that's where your life takes you.
Mm.
It's similar because like you're going to end up there whether you like it or not. You could go kicking and screaming, or you could go freely, just as you said. But
Do you have to live a certain, because you said it every 7 years, like you have to live a certain amount of time to get to that
that's an
life card?
interesting question. So there's numerical sequence to the life path, and then as in astrology, there's just the overall influences. Like you have your king card is the Eight of Hearts, so that's an influence in your life all the time, not
Mm.
just as a final destination. I suppose similar to how the North Node is always present for us, whether we're, as you say, consciously moving toward it or not. Um, so it's a both and. And the thing with these
Mhm.
cards is that it's always a both and. It's a fractal system, and it's always true on multiple levels simultaneously.
Mm.
So it's both chronological, like we're moving chronologically toward this destination, but also that destination is always present, and we're always kind of orienting ourselves in that direction. It would suggest to me that you're always kind of looking toward how you gather a tribe, that Eight of
Mm.
Hearts. How do I bring together a group of people? How do I rally
Mm.
my tribe? Is that true for you? Would you say that's true?
I think to some degree, yeah. I mean, that's like what I'm doing as an astrologer,
Hmm,
in the with the podcast
right.
and the people that listen every week and those who reach out to me for readings or part of classes or working with me regularly. I guess they're a part of this tribe that I've created. And it's heart centered. I want to attract people for the purpose of empowering them so that they feel more open hearted and more in love with themselves.
Hmm.
That's my
Yeah.
mission.
It could mean that it may be for you to more consciously set up community where people can come together and talk to each other as well, in addition to talking to you.
I'm planning on doing that, like, and
Yeah.
starting. I've been working on revising my website, and once it's up and ready, I'm going to eventually implement something called the cosmic community,
Hmm.
where
There you
people
go.
can join up, and I'll just be it'll be kind of like maybe like a live podcast where I'm just talking about the planets and stars, and people are in the chat talking to each other and
Hmm.
bringing up questions or comments to me, and I'll riff off of that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's an example of that, the cosmic community, and it's yeah, it's something you're working toward. It's something you want
Yes.
to do.
Yes. Wanna Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Hmm. It's interesting because, my son is actually at the exact same degree and sign as my north node. So, but the in hearing about the card, which would maybe be associated with the north node, it is nuanced in that way where,
Right.
yeah.
And I'm getting the same thing from astrology too. That's also why I wanted to talk to you about this cross fertilization of the meaning of planets and numbers, because I noticed that there's nuance that is enriching
Yes.
to talk the different languages together. For instance, my north node is on my ascendant, so
Yes.
on Capricorn, and my 13th card in my life path is the Two of Spades. And spades is about building. It's about career and doing things, which Capricorn is. But the two is about partnership. It's that I'm going to get there together. I'm going to
Hmm.
get to my final destination in partnership. So that gives me a
Hmm.
lot of nuance to the idea of what I'm building and where I'm going.
Hmm. Interesting. So I want to touch on that, but I also want to reflect on something else with like my North Node and like my North Node and Sun conjunct in Scorpio are aligning with the Scorpio's the eighth sign,
Yeah,
and they're aligning with the part of fortune, which is in my fifth house, which is associated with the fifth sign, which is Leo.
yeah,
And Leo's the sign that rules the heart.
yeah. Can't make this stuff up.
Yeah. So, in looking at you and your North Node is in the first house, which is the house of personality, which would indicate that you are meant to accomplish your goals and ambitions on your own. But it's also aligning with your Sun and your Mercury and your Pluto. So your Sun and Mercury are in Virgo. Your Pluto's in Libra. Libra is the sign of relationships. Your North Node is also opposite your Saturn, which is in the seventh house, which is the house of relationships. It's also in aligning with Mercury, the Sun, and Pluto in the eighth house. The eighth house is the house of death. So that represents intimate bonds. Your North Node's also aligning with
Wait,
your.
the death means a death of intimate bonds,
No,
or
it means death represents intimacy. It's like the death of the singular self and the
oh,
rebirth of the unit. It's
okay.
like when you share a secret, when you share sex, or you share money or financial information with somebody, you are allowing yourself to be vulnerable
Hmm,
with them.
hmm,
That's intimacy.
hmm.
So, that could indicate that you are meant to be deeply involved in intimate relationships or relationships where you're feeling vulnerable,
Yeah.
and those relationships are helping you achieve your goals and ambitions. Your North Node aligns with one, two, three, four, five planets in your chart. So we've got Pluto, which is the planetary ruler of the eighth house in Libra, the sign of relationships, the Sun and Mercury in Virgo in the eighth house, along with Pluto, Saturn in the seventh house, the house of marriage, directly opposite the North Node, and then Mars in Taurus in the third house. So this is about honoring and being able to communicate your self-worth and your values through your actions, being curious about the self-worth and values of other people that you're potentially getting involved with, so that you make sure that you're climbing the mountain with the right people or person.
It's very interesting. I partnered. I think you know this. I partnered with my wife recently,
Yeah,
and
Vicki.
yeah, Vicky, and we want to work together. And what's been interesting is that at least for now, it's been more challenging. I actually had more clients when I was by myself doing my
Mm.
own private coaching work.
So
Since we've joined together, we maybe we haven't quite figured out what our messaging is, so to speak. It's been interesting because we know we want to work together, but hearing you say that it's up to me to do it myself in my North Node, that's interesting.
well, here's a couple ways to look at it. Just in terms of the North Node in the first house in Capricorn, that would say you're supposed to do it by yourself. But the alignment with Pluto and the Sun and Mercury in the eighth house, Pluto in Libra, and then Saturn in the seventh house would indicate that there is some form of partnership that needs to be involved in helping you climb to the top of the mountain. Now, it's not necessarily going to be easy because Saturn is opposing your North Node. So maybe that's why you're experiencing challenges in partnering with Vicki in terms of your business. But maybe you need to think about it from a different perspective, that it's not necessarily partnership in the way that you have envisioned it to be. That the partnership could very well be she's doing whatever she's doing on her own, and that supports you on your journey to climb and achieve your goals and ambitions. So she's on her own path, separate from yours, but her path is impacting your ability to achieve your goals and ambitions in a positive way.
Well, thank you for saying that. This is the thing that we've talked about a lot is what does our partnership look like?
Mm-hmm.
And that's been the question is how do we envision it together? We love working together. We just started a podcast together. We haven't officially launched it yet, but we started taping for it. It's interesting. We love working together, and since we started working together, business hasn't been as abundant as it was, like I said, when I was doing my own thing and she was doing her own thing. We each had more clients at that time. So it's very interesting. And like we're talking about it, what does it mean? How do we work together? What does that look like?
Mm-hmm.
If we're working together, does that mean that we're looking to work for, on couples and relationships? Previously, most of my clients were like business people and entrepreneurs from my background working on Wall Street, and I had starting a business, being an entrepreneur. So I had success being a coach for other business people and other entrepreneurs. And then I pivoted to start doing more relationship work with her. That okay, we're going to work together and we're going to help people with their relationships. Great, but it hasn't quite gelled.
Well, the thing is Capricorn, your North Node in Capricorn is about it. I think of that corporate sort of trajectory. Capricorn is the authority. It is the sign that rules real estate and land. So it's the corporation. That's what Capricorn is. And so I think that's maybe why you were finding success earlier, was because you were working with people that were in the corporate world, the
Who wanted to
business
climb
world.
the mountain?
Exactly. And so that maybe is what the aspects to, like, especially too with like Virgo, right? Virgo's work. Capricorn is achievement. Virgo's the work that needs to be, like, you have this grand trine occurring. Like, this is magic. Like, this is a very special aspect where you have your north node at 5 degrees in Capricorn, your sun it's 7 degrees in Virgo, your Mercury it's at 3 degrees in Virgo, and your Mars it's 6 degrees in Taurus. So that's 3 planets and the North Node all in Earth signs. So when you think about this, Mars in Taurus is my self-worth, my values, and the action that I'm taking to create that material and financial security. Now, that I'm the action that I'm taking is manifesting in my daily work. That is the Virgo frequency. So Taurus is I value this. Virgo is I need to do this in order to maintain or establish what I value. And then the North Node in Capricorn are your goals. And you can't achieve your goals unless you know what you value. Because how can you have a goal if you don't know what you want? And then you need to create a work ethic that is going to manifest those goals into your reality. And so the connection in terms of relationship very well just could have been your clients, and you're working with somebody who's in the corporate field, and they are they are focused on achieving goals and ambitions. You're, in a sense, making their goals and ambitions your goals and ambitions,
And I'm
which
partnering with them to help them reach their goals, basically.
exactly,
You know,
exactly. That's it. It's like, that's it.
I'll have to break the news to my wife.
Vicky's gonna be like, stop talking to that Scott guy. Like,
Well, yeah, I mean, she really wants us to focus on love and relationships, and it just hasn't come together for us. And this is, I mean, now I'm learning my astrology in more depth. It's making sense. There
maybe
are
that's what she's supposed to be working on. I don't know what her astrological code is, but maybe what she's supposed to be working on is love and
is what,
relationships.
yeah, yeah,
Maybe, I don't know.
yeah. That's her passion. That's what
Yeah.
she's very interested in.
And
And
then you can support her on that path. It's like, think of it like this. You're two people working in a company that have totally different jobs, but you're at the same company.
right,
And so, your job is to attract the corporate people
right,
that want to achieve their goals and ambitions and to
right.
partner with them to help them achieve their goals and ambitions. She works at the same company as you, but she's in the romance department.
That's right.
And so she's out there counseling people who are having trouble in relationships or are looking to find a partner. And, you can advise her and she can advise you. And, you're talking in the hallway about, you
Yeah,
know, different
and
scenarios.
and
And
she could bring me into a meeting just to continue the metaphor. She could
exactly,
bring me in, and I could bring her into a meeting.
exactly.
So I like this metaphor. We're in different departments,
Yeah, exactly.
but still working together to teach
Still
people
working together, still in the same company. The company is, the cards.
the source
We're
cards. Yeah,
we're experts in the source cards. Alexander's his expertise is the business corporate realm,
yeah.
and Vicki, her expertise is the romance dating relationship realm.
I like this.
Yeah.
It creates more space in our dynamic too.
Yes. Yes. Because that's what's confusing is, if you're both together, it's like, well, who am I working with here? Like, it's like when I go to see a therapist, I don't want to talk to two people. I just want to talk to the one therapist. If I'm talking to, it's like, my brain's confused. Who am I listening to here? Like, what, it's, so I only want to talk to one therapist. I don't have like another astrologer sitting here with me, giving a reading with me. And maybe there are people out there that could do that. That would have to be right within their astrological code. But yours is clearly saying that, you need to be face forward and you need to be
Interesting.
focusing on career goals, ambitions, and trajectory and merging power, allowing people, people allowing you to get into their intimate realm of like, this is going on at work right now. I haven't told anybody about this. And you're like, okay, well, let's look at this. This is what's happening. When's your boss's birthday? Okay,
Right,
well, your boss
right.
is a this, so this is why this is happening. And
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
All right, this is interesting. This is not what I bargained for in the call today,
I
but this is good.
love it. Yeah, you never know where the conversation's gonna go.
Yeah, this is good.
It's fun. Yeah.
Well, yeah, thank you for that. It actually makes a lot of sense, and yeah, it makes a lot of sense. It feels
Hmm.
liberating, which is how I know it's accurate.
Yeah.
When you
Good.
when we're talking about it, I'm like, ah, yes, that feels really good. So, all right. Well,
yeah.
coming back to our original topic for today,
Yes.
talking about planets and meaning. So, we just referenced the number two as
Hmm.
the two of spades as my destination, akin to my north node. The number two is the same as the Mercury card in our life path.
Hmm.
So whatever is the Mercury card is the second card, and this is the symbolic representation of the meaning of the number two. So it's, how do we create synergy? How do we bridge this gap? How do we communicate?
Yeah.
How do we find common ground? Which to me seems very similar to the meaning of the planet Mercury.
Totally. I mean, it takes two people to have a conversation.
Right.
So, there's two diamonds on the card now. And so to me, that looks like two people having a conversation.
So one of the things that at least I've heard, again, not from you, but it kind
Yeah.
of I've picked up from other astrologers, is that Mercury, the idea of the planet Mercury is that it's kind of quicksilver. It's sort of here, then it's gone. It flashes in and then it flashes out. I'm not sure how that relates to the number two, but is that how you also think of Mercury?
Uh, well, Mercury is the fastest planet
Hmm.
orbiting around the sun. It only takes 88 days for Mercury to orbit the sun, but that's why it retrogrades 3 to 4 times a year, because it can't be out of our view. It's like it can't just disappear. So it moves backwards. That's what happens when it's moving so fast. Like when something's moving so fast, like a wheel that spins so fast that it looks like it's moving backwards.
I always wondered that. Like, it doesn't
Yeah.
actually move backwards, does it?
No.
How does
From
it
our
appear?
perspective, it does. It's like you've ever seen a wheel that's spinning so fast that
Right.
it looks like it's moving
Yeah,
backwards slowly.
like the glare kind of looks like it's going.
It looks like it's moving backwards in the opposite direction because it's moving so fast. That's what happens with
Hmm.
Mercury retrograde. It's moving so fast that it looks like it's coming back to us.
Okay.
Yeah. But, in terms of the cards, I mean, the first thing that literally popped into my mind with the two was like if if they're moving back and forth so fast, it would look like that. That like if you had one that was going like this so many times, eventually it would just look like they're in both those spots,
Hmm.
right?
Meaning you wouldn't even see the movement,
Exactly. Like that's one diamond that's moving so fast that it's in two places.
which is a really deep metaphysical truth, actually.
That was the first thing that popped into my mind when you showed me, was like that's one diamond moving so quickly that it looks like it's in two different places.
Have you ever heard that theory that supposedly all of creation is one particle that is moving infinitely fast? And if by definition it can move infinitely fast, then it can be in any location simultaneously.
Hmm.
It's just one particle that is
Yeah.
infinitely moving through
Yeah.
space, and that all everything is made of one particle that is moving infinitely fast.
Yeah. Wild.
I'm not quite sure if I can accept that, but
Yeah.
that's an idea that I've heard that comes to mind when you talk about how this
Mm-hmm.
one particle moves so fast that it appears to be in two places simultaneously.
Exactly.
It's the same idea.
Yes.
One of the biggest dangers for anyone with this two energy is the merging. And so I always am pointing out that there's space between the two. And we were just discussing that in terms of my own two of spades as my 13th card in my life path, that maybe my wife and I have merged too much and we need a little more space and work in different departments. So it's interesting that you bring that up about the one particle in two places. That's the big danger of the two, is merging, is not having the
Yes.
boundaries.
Yes.
Does that happen in Mercury? Do you see that there can be, whenever the Mercury energy is strong, that maybe the mind is moving so fast that it's some second guessing itself, or it doesn't have enough space for itself?
Well, I think of Mercury in terms of like the ruler of Gemini, planetary ruler of Gemini, and Gemini is always wanting to learn something new.
Right.
Virgo, the other planetary ruler of, it also rules Virgo, Mercury, and Virgo is always looking to improve, to perfect. It's trying to see, oh, I missed that. I'm going to fix this, So there's never any sort of stagnation
Mm.
with those two signs. They're both mutable, so they're always adapting and changing and evolving. The Gemini frequency is the auditory expression of the mind, and the Virgo frequency is the material expression of the mind. It's putting it down on the page,
Mm.
writing it down. But there's no ending of like, oh, I'm just going to be here now. And there's always looking to learn more or to improve. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's there's a different way of looking at Mercury, and this is why I wanted to talk to you about it, because that's was kind of my operating assumption, is that there are differences as well as similarities in the meaning of what the two means versus what Mercury means. Um, I mean, one of the things about the two is that the two is always trying to be a helper and
Hmm.
always trying to support the other person. So you're saying that Mercury is all about improving or learning or growing, then there is, I can see a correspondence then with the two that's always wanting to help, always wanting to improve the situation, sometimes to a fault. And that's something else I coach people with the two energy is, again, you need space. You can't be always trying to help the other person, because then you're merging and you get resentful and it backfires. So, yeah,
Well, and think about it like this too. Mercury rules the mind, and the brain is not just one piece. There's two sides to
there's
the
two
brain.
sides. Yeah,
They're not merged together. There's clearly a left side, right side of the brain.
right. Yeah, that's interesting too.
Yeah. And even when you think about twins, twins are very different from each other. They may look the same,
Mhm.
but they're very different.
In all the other suits besides Diamond, the two is depicted as one facing one way and one facing the other way.
Hmm.
They're always depicted as opposites, facing opposite directions.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting idea. And that to me also is a correspondence with Mercury, because the two is always looking for what unites us. We are different,
Hmm.
we have different ways of thinking. And what's the common ground here?
Hmm.
But I'm not sure. Again, I'm not 100% sure that that's exactly what Mercury signifies as a planet. I don't know enough to know. Does Mercury signify looking for common ground, looking for
Well,
synergy?
it's communication. It's the planet of communication. It's the god of merchants and thieves, trade. So it's the broker. It's the guide of souls to the underworld. It's taking people from the material realm to the underworld. So it is looking for connection. It's looking for connection. It's looking for common ground.
Mercury is the guide to the underworld. I didn't know that.
Guide of souls to the underworld. Yeah. So when you die, your soul is guided by Mercury to the underworld. Helps you with the transition.
Interesting.
Yes. So Mercury is there to bridge the gap in a sense.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you're now on the other side. You're still where you are. They're still where they are, but now we've connected.
Yeah.
Like if think about it in terms of the god of trade, merchants and thieves.
Yeah.
So I'm giving you something
Yeah. We're
and
creating
taking
a
something
connection.
from
Yeah.
you. Yes.
and there's a connection and a bond and an exchange.
I'm not going onto your side. You're not coming onto my side, but we are making that connection.
Yep. And that's the way I look at the two. It's like this is like two neurons, and there's a synapse in the brain, and it's
Yes.
all about that connection across that gap and the electrical pulse or whatever it is, the trade or the merchant, the brokering. It's whatever crosses that divide, crosses
Mhm.
that gap. That's what the two is about, and that's interesting. You're saying that that's a lot like what Mercury is about.
Yes.
Interesting.
Communication. If I learn about you and you learn about me, once we learn enough, we can find that connection.
Right? Whatever that connection may be, and it could be verbal or it could be material.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, um, let's move on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about so birth card number one, Mercury card number two, Venus number three, Mars number four, Jupiter is number five.
Yeah.
And where Mars is about building the structure, at least according to the cards, the five is about breaking out of the box. It's about
Hmm.
expansion.
Yeah.
It's about adventure. It's about going over the horizon. And that's slightly different, although very similar to my understanding of Jupiter that I've heard from other people, where Jupiter is the great beneficent that brings fortune and blessings. Um, but of course, if you're on, you're out of the box, you're going to find blessings and new paths. But I imagine you have your own interpretation of Jupiter, and I'd love to
Yeah.
hear it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, I know Jupiter's called the great beneficent and blessings and that sort. I don't think of it like that, though I'm not saying it's not that. The way that I think of Jupiter is it's the planet of luck and expansion. And so when you see the four, and then all of a sudden there's another diamond in the middle, it looks like it's expanded.
Yeah,
So that's what Jupiter is to me. It's about expansion. And expansion could be good luck, it could be bad luck, it could be benevolent, benefect, the great benefect, or it could be, indulgence and extravagance, which doesn't necessarily lead to good
right.
luck. So there's two sides of every coin.
Yep.
So that when you look at that extra diamond could be a gift or it could be something that's not a gift. It's like, oh, wow, you've got a tumor now. It's like not something good that pops up there.
And you would see that in your astrological reading. You would see that Jupiter could mean an expansion that is not beneficial.
Yes, absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely. Just because Jupiter shows up someplace doesn't mean that, I can't tell you how many people I know that when Jupiter's transiting through their second house, the house of security, the house of material abundance and wealth, and Jupiter's it's like, oh, right, yeah, Jupiter's coming through. I'm going to make that money now. And all of a sudden the debts roll in,
Oh,
you know? And it's like, yeah. So it's not as simple. Nothing is like black or white. It's all how you're working with the energy, and if something's off about how you're working with the energy of your astrological code and Jupiter transits through your second house, you may experience debts or unexpected, expenses or new expenses popping up out of nowhere.
hmm,
It can happen.
interesting. I
Yeah.
like that a lot. I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you is, as you know, I like your astrological interpretation. Um, for whatever reason, I had learned astrology more black and white, where like, Jupiter good, Saturn bad,
Hmm.
and one of the ways that I started to realize that can't be true is that 5, if it does correlate with Jupiter, expansion is good, but you can't just, for example, continue expanding your lungs or you'll explode.
Yeah.
And you can't just expand your ego, then you're too egotistical. Or if you're in business and suddenly you have a whole ton of customers, that could be a bad problem if you can't fulfill your orders, if you expand it too rapidly. It's like, yeah, if 5, it's about expansion, and that's Jupiter also, but that's an expansion that needs to have a center to it. Centered,
Hmm.
the dot is at the center. It needs to be centered and grounded, or else it goes haywire and it
Hmm.
can go all over the place. So
Exactly. Exactly.
interesting. So you did say that to you it's about generally expansion and luck. So like you would say that it's luck as well.
It's luck. Luck can be good. Luck can be bad.
It's fortune one way or another, like in the
Yes.
classical sense of the meaning of fortune. What I was picking up on though, and tell me how you feel about this, is in the idea of the law of attraction, which I believe is true, if we have an attitude of gratitude and if we have an expansive, positive mindset, then we do attract more blessings to us. So if we're looking at it as it's about expansion, and I am not having an expansive mindset, I'm having a closed, contractive mindset, well, I'm not going to then attract more blessings and abundance to myself. It is about having an expansive, open heart. Like even now, like my open heart, it's having an open mind and an open heart that is going to draw to me more good fortune, kind of by definition.
Maybe. You
Maybe
know, I
like in the
I
Zen
mean,
parable.
well,
Maybe, maybe not.
you know, gratitude, good attitude, all that sort of stuff is great. Uh it doesn't necessarily guarantee good luck or good fortune. Sometimes, this is why it's like bad things happen to good people. It's like, well, they're so positive and this, that, and the next thing, and everything's great, but then something bad happens, and it's like, well, what do they do? How do they attract that to themselves? And I just feel like it's much more nuanced than, hey, if you're if you have a good attitude and you're smiling and this and that, then that's what you're gonna attract to you. Maybe, maybe not. Maybe for whatever reason, and I'd have to look at the person's chart to really understand, but maybe there are deeper lessons that they have to learn around, and they're meant to struggle through this experience or that experience.
Well, that's what
I
I was
mean,
going to say. Is like you're looking at their astrological code to see that okay, now you have this transit, so now this is what you're dealing with. It doesn't matter how happy you are, and actually, you do want to maintain a positive attitude through it. It isn't your fault. I don't know, maybe I'm using the wrong words, but I can kind of get a feeling of what you're talking about. It's like just because you're feeling happy doesn't mean something bad may not happen, but it's then how do you respond to that?
because I think that the thing is Jupiter with that abundance and levity and extravagance. Sometimes, like, it might be too big,
Yeah.
and your bubble needs to be popped, because we all need a little humility.
Well, that's where
And
Saturn comes in. And in the cards, the number 6 is Saturnian energy, and it's the
mm,
two straight lines.
yeah,
It's time to line everything up. It's
yes,
time to balance the debits and the credits, settle your
yes,
debts. And that, to me, at least in the cards, that is the equal and opposite force of Jupiter. It's like the expansion and the contraction is like the inhale and the exhale.
hmm,
And without an exhale, the contraction, you don't have space to inhale. So Saturn, rather than being a bad guy, is actually simply the exhale, is
hmm,
the contractive force that makes space for the expansion again. That's how I
yes.
look at it.
Yeah, well, it gives you structure. It's not just that one diamond floating around in the middle.
It's alignment.
It's, yeah, they're aligned. We're in the hallway now. There's the structure there. And so, and it's going maybe in a certain direction, let's say, towards your goals, your ambitions.
Well, and it
Your
lines us up, whatever in the cards anyway. So let's do it for you. Your Saturn card is the Seven of Spades.
Hmm.
So seven, again, spiritual. Spades represent consciousness. So whatever is your Saturn card is the way in which you need to line your life up. So your spiritual consciousness or lack thereof is going to be what determines how aligned your life is.
Hmm.
So if you're in a doubting, because the flip side of the Seven of Spades is being dark, pessimistic, cynical about life, losing faith, literally.
Hmm.
If that happens, then your life goes askew. It's not lined up anymore. And the way in which your Saturn influence will show you you need to line your life up is you need to have faith and you
Hmm.
need to really trust your vision and have the spiritual consciousness, spiritual awareness to see the vision and to line your life up according to your spiritual vision, loosely defined. Spiritual meaning your imagination of your best life, your faith, your hope. That's how you need to line up your life, is based on your vision.
Hmm.
And without that, your health will suffer. You may pile up debts. And again, things won't be lined up for you. So that's how, if we were doing a reading, that's how I'd interpret your Saturn card for you in your life path. And whatever is our Saturn card, that shows us how we need to line up our life.
So I'm thinking about what you just shared with me, and I think about my own Saturn, and my Saturn is in Leo. So, I have to really work at opening my heart and finding the joy in life at home, because it's in the fourth house, life with family.
Hmm.
It's squaring my Uranus in Scorpio in the sixth house. So, opening your heart and working hard in terms of intimate bonds, but having independence within those bonds and creating a daily structure that is in alignment with the desires of my heart.
Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, that's a very different lens with which to look at the Saturnian influence in your life. But
In
it's
terms
not
of the card, in
in terms
terms
of
of
the
my
card.
card,
Yeah, in terms of your card, but it's not antithetical to it. It's not, because I can take a more liberal type of interpretation of the Seven of Spades and say that spades represent everything. Your consciousness is everything,
hmm,
and that can include, of course, your heart, your mind, your body. It's everything, and it's saying that it's all about how you adjust it for yourself. Because the seven is about adjustment, the high or the low, and that you can have highs or lows in how you choose to see everything.
hmm,
And your astrology is pointing more specifically to certain aspects and ways in which that could show up for you. So it's interesting. This is another one
yeah,
of those examples where there's a nuance that's reflected, that's different. It's not antithetical, it's just a more enriching picture of the story.
yeah, that's how it feels to me. It doesn't feel like the card is off.
Right.
It feels like the card is giving a more general perspective,
Mhm.
and the
The planets make it more specific.
yeah,
That's what I've noticed as I've dug into astrology more, is that the astrology provides more detail and more nuance,
yes, yeah, exactly.
which I like. And I'm fascinated still by the simplicity of how everything can be boiled down to one symbol.
Uh-huh.
right? In
Yeah.
the astrology, you mentioned those multiple factors of the squaring and the house and the this and the that. You rattled off about like 7 or 8 different factors, which is great. I still love the fact that we can boil it down to it's like,
Yeah.
what's your vision of your life? Is it up or is it down? And
Yeah.
that's what's going to be what helps you align your life. Uh,
Absolutely. I
yeah,
feel like both have just such great value. You're hearing, you know, what you're hearing, whether it's through the cards or the astrology, you're hearing something about yourself that is of value.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So, okay, so that's the relationship between Jupiter and Saturn, at least according to the numbers, according to the cards. You have the expansive influence of Jupiter in the five that gets checked by
Mm-hmm.
the Saturnian influence, which is actually higher than it in the cards. The six
Mm-hmm.
is greater than the five, which is again slightly different than the typical astrological outlook, which Jupiter is bigger than Saturn, but in the numerological sequence in the cards, Saturn is bigger, and Saturn is the planet that checks Jupiter and keeps Jupiter in check. So in our life path too, it works that way. Whatever is our Saturn card helps us check or does check the Jupiter from being too expansive to what you were saying earlier, where it can expand out of control. Whatever is the Saturn influence checks it and keeps it in alignment. Do you see
Hmm.
that in astrological chart as well? That Saturn does that, checks Jupiter?
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily qualify it as it checks Jupiter, but it checks you. And it's focusing on where you need to put more effort
Mm,
and attention and work.
mm,
uh Jupiter, wherever Jupiter is, there might be more flow, but the challenge is being overly indulgent in that flow.
yeah, right. Yeah, that's the overexpansion, the overindulgence.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. It maps very closely onto the meaning of the numbers and the cards.
Yes.
So here's where I think it gets interesting. We touched on this one previous time. Is the meaning of the seven and the eight as Uranus and Neptune? So the seven, as we've talked about, is the asymmetric. The
Mhm.
seven is I think, the planet of Uranus, and Uranus is often characterized as the planet of that which is unexpected, and you don't
Mhm.
know which way it's going to go. Is it going to flip this way? Is it going to flop that way?
Mhm.
And seven is also considered the spiritual number. And I know Uranus, you tell me your opinion of it, is often thought of as a spiritual influence in our life. So this one, the Uranus energy, was actually the first one, the number seven, that really got my attention to, oh, I think there really is some correspondence here between the meaning of the planet and the meaning of the number.
Hmm.
What are your
Well,
thoughts on that?
Uranus is the planet of revolution, rebellion, innovation, independence, the unexpected. It's what makes you unique, different from everyone else. What's non-conforming about you compared to
Non-conforming.
others. Yeah.
So whatever is Uranus in our astrological code, that's what is showing that about us.
It's showing that that's where you're rebellious. That's where you're rebellious. So like for
Uh,
you, your Uranus is it's in the ninth house in Libra.
okay.
So I would interpret that as you have a very non-conforming spiritual view, and you're non-conforming when it comes to relationships. You are unique to your own. You have an independent spiritual view, and you really desire your independence in relationships, which is another reason why maybe you and Vicki should have your independence within the same structure as the source cards.
Mhm.
But she has her department, you have your department.
Interesting. So that's very interesting. I appreciate your interpretation. I hadn't heard that before. I haven't, I haven't explored everything in my astrological chart. Let's say that.
Yeah.
My Uranus card is the Seven of Spades. It's your Saturn card, but it's my
Mm.
Uranus card. And spiritual consciousness is the meaning of the Seven of Spades. So I'm non-conforming in my spiritual consciousness,
Hmm.
which is
Yep.
exactly what you just said from my
Exactly.
astrological code. So that's very interesting.
Yep.
That one maps exactly.
Very cool.
And I am, in a sense, very real sense, consciously rebellious against what I would call the biblical monotheistic paradigm, where I'm not satisfied simply to teach these cards as a parlor trick or as an adjunct to the main whatever metaphysical model of our society, which is the biblical monotheistic model. I want to tear the whole thing down and replace it with a more fundamental truth of our reality, which is look at ourselves through the numbers and through the stars. Right?
Hmm.
This is older than biblical monotheism. It's much more
Yes.
ancient and more accurate, and it makes space for everybody to be uniquely them without trying to conform everybody into a one size fits all monochromatic model.
Exactly.
So I want to tear the whole thing down. So that's my spiritual rebellion.
Hmm. Exactly.
So, all right. So then, do you want to say anything else about that?
Well, I was just going to say, and I don't want to get too far off track, but, um, it's interesting because your moon and Venus are also in the ninth house. And, because you're saying, like, I want to tear the whole thing down. There's a real emotional connection to this.
Mm. Yeah, I got
Because if it's
passionate for
just,
a moment there.
yeah, exactly. If it was just Uranus in your ninth house, you probably wouldn't care so much.
Mm.
But because your moon is there, the planet of emotions
Mm.
in the ninth house means that you have an emotional connection to spirituality,
Mm.
emotional connection to God, to religion. And, it's like religion has taken us down this path, and that's not the path. Like they've suppressed all of these uh tools that we have
Yeah,
to learn about ourselves, and it
yeah,
really upsets me because you're curbing my connection to God, and Venus in the
and
ninth house.
myself and each other.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yes. But Venus is in the ninth house as well, which would indicate that you desire to have a spiritual relationship to God, to yourself, to a higher power,
yeah,
or to have, any relationship that you're in. Like, I imagine that you and Vicki have a spiritual relationship together.
very deeply.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not going to work if she's like, my spiritual relationship is shopping.
Yeah,
And
right.
that'd be like, okay, well, this is not the right match for me. But
She was always looking for a man. She said because we were both previously married.
mhm.
She was looking for a man who would bring her closer to God. That was her. That was her vision. And
And
so
that's
yeah,
your, yes,
that's
that's your
yeah,
ninth house Venus and your ninth house Moon and your ninth house Uranus. You care deeply emotionally about your spiritual beliefs. You you desire to have a relationship with whoever you have relationships with. Any meaningful relationship that you have will have a spiritual component, and you are deeply rebellious and non-conforming when it comes to spirituality.
yeah. And interestingly, I didn't start off that way. I started off as a good Catholic boy, and I wanted to be a priest at one point, and I went to Roman Catholic seminary.
Well,
I
so
yeah,
yeah, but think about it like this, Alexander. The moon represents your roots, your upbringing, your childhood, the ones who raised and nurtured you, your ancestors. So, of course, in the beginning, that's where it was. That's where the emotions come from. You wouldn't have an emotional connection to religion if you didn't have that experience that you had, where you were deeply involved in the Catholic
right,
Church,
right. It was
and
part
wanted
of
to
my
be a
emotional
priest.
formation. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah, yeah.
exactly. Exactly. If you were if you were not born with the moon in the ninth house, if it was just Uranus, you wouldn't have had that background. It would have been like, yeah, my parents weren't religious. I'm not religious. I think, I got my own thing, But because the moon was in the ninth house, you were raised in a religion. That's a family connection.
It's very interesting.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Catholic school. My parents didn't care so much about religion, but I was in a Catholic school, so I was
Right.
definitely raised in
They
it.
cared enough to send you to a
Yeah,
Catholic school.
yeah, that's well
So
said. Right.
I can't imagine too many people that are like, I don't care about religion, but I'm sending my kid to a Catholic school. What?
Well, my mother, according to her, in South Florida, looking around for schools, she apparently did not think the public schools were any good.
Uh-huh.
So, according to her, it was more about where am I going to get a better education. But yeah, it has to have that component to it. And whether she consciously thought that or not, to your point, it's in my design that way. It's in my astrological
Exactly.
code that I would
Yep.
have grown up with that intimate emotional connection to religion, which I did.
Exactly. Yep.
So, yeah, fascinating. So, let's move on to what I think is one of the more interesting examples of this correspondence between numbers and planets. That the number eight, which is symbolized by this
Yeah.
pattern, which it's in the empty space
Yeah.
there in
Oh,
the in
wow.
between. And in the cards, the eight is the number of power. And I think in the eighth house is considered power, no?
The eighth house is the house of death.
Okay.
It's associated with the eighth sign, which is Scorpio, which is
Okay.
ruled by Mars and Pluto. So there is a very intense willfulness,
Hmm.
which could be interpreted as power. Um,
Yeah, and there can be a stubbornness associated with the number eight when I'm talking to someone with the number eight energy,
mhm.
that being too willful and too stubborn.
Hmm.
But so what's interesting is that the number eight corresponds to Neptune, the
Yeah.
eighth planet in the life path.
Hmm.
And at least my understanding of Neptune astrologically is that it's the planet of dreams and illusions and maybe
Hmm.
delusions, and the planet of travel also. But yet in the cards, the number eight is about power and flow and finding your flow, finding your power in a flowing way where the idea of genuine power, not willful misuse of power, but genuine power is like the way a water flows around rocks or the way electricity flows over the path of least resistance. That's true power. It's flow, it's ease, it's grace, and the misuse is the willfulness of it. But it's interesting to me to map that onto the planet Neptune because I'm not sure how that maps. And
Hmm.
what do you think?
Well, first of all, show me that card again, because the first thing that I think when I look at this card is illusion.
Ooh,
Because you can just stare at this card and you're like, what am I looking at? It's like I might see, you know, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or I might see the four in the center,
yeah.
or I'm
There,
looking at the lower five. It's one of these cards where if you just stare at it, you see different shapes,
well,
which is
also, yeah, and then you see the eight in the empty
oh
space,
yeah,
which is
exactly.
which is an illusion
Yes.
kind of coming out of the empty space.
Exactly. So, and Neptune is a very nebulous planet. It's the cloudy planet. We don't know what's going on beneath the surface on that planet. We can't see it. So, that when I look at that card, I feel dizzy.
Do you really?
Oh
Oh,
yeah, totally. Totally, and it's not like a bad way, like, oh, I'm gonna get sick, but maybe I would, but I kind of like it. It's like, wow, okay, this is trippy, it's
it
like
is a little
like
trippy. It's like
it's
those old
trippy.
pictures where you look at it 3D and like a 3D image comes out of it.
Yes.
I can't remember what those were called, but I remember struggling to see the 3D image in those things.
So Neptune is the god of fresh water and the sea, the planet of illusion, deception, compassion, intuition. I wouldn't necessarily associate it with travel unless we're talking about like astral travel, travel of the unconscious into the dream realm. I think of Jupiter as more of the actual planet of travel, like I'm getting on a plane and I'm going someplace. That's
See,
Jupiter.
that's different than other astrologers. That's
Hmm.
interesting. I mean, I've definitely heard from astrologers that Neptune is about travel, and if you
Hmm.
under Neptune, you're going to go on a trip.
Hmm.
So again, I appreciate that distinction that you look at it a little differently than I've kind of classically heard other astrologers talk about it.
Yeah, I look at the the newer planets or the outer planets like Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. They create the nuance of what's already there with the seven classical planets. So Jupiter is travel, but Neptune is a different kind of travel. That's how I would view it. Is like it's more of the unconscious, the dream. Where your dreams taking you? Because otherwise, before Neptune, what was the planet of travel? There wasn't a planet of travel. There was just nobody traveled, before until they discovered Neptune up in the with the telescope. So that's how I look at it. But there's something else that you said. I'm trying to remember now. That really kind of struck me.
Grace and
But
flow.
yeah, so there's like the flow of water
Mm,
and the flow of God. Neptune is the ethereal planet. It's connecting to the higher power. I mean, so is Jupiter in its own way. But, Neptune, that's where that illusion comes in. Like, is this real? Is it not real? I don't know. It's, uh, there's a flow to it,
mm.
like water, but water can also be heavy and stagnant. So,
Is there with Neptune any idea of it being a planet of healing?
oh yeah, yeah, it's healing.
Because the eight
It's
is
healing.
this symbol is the same symbol of the two snakes woven around the caduceus.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's a symbol of healing. And people with this eight
exactly.
energy as their birth card, they often have a healing ability, or whether they work as a doctor or a massage therapist or not, they just will have an ability to weave things in a harmonious way that brings that harmony with them wherever
Well,
they go.
exactly. The 12th house, which is associated with the 12th sign, which is Pisces, which is ruled by Jupiter and Neptune, is the house that rules hospitals and prisons.
Okay.
And when you think of Jesus, Jesus came here to heal the world. That Jesus is associated with that Pisces frequency because Pisces is symbolized by the fish, and that's a symbol for Christ. And so, Mary Magdalene washed Jesus's feet, and Pisces rules the feet. So Neptune's about healing. I also think about it in terms of it's the unconscious. And when you have a physical ailment, that physical ailment is manifested through your unconscious reality. And so, in order to heal the body, you must heal the mind. You must heal the unconscious. You must heal your spirit.
Hmm.
And that's what Neptune is.
It's very interesting. In the cards, at least, the two planetary influences that I associate with health and healing is the Neptune, which is weaving it all together, and Saturn, which is all about lining it up,
Hmm.
getting everything aligned. That, at least in the cards, we talk about whatever is your Saturn card is what, again, lines you up literally and in your physicality too, in your well being.
Hmm.
So that would be different than in that case. You're saying that Jupiter is the other planet of health and healing. It's Jupiter and Neptune. Um, do you see at all in your way of understanding it that Saturn is associated with health and well being too?
I don't I don't know if I've ever thought of Saturn as a planet of healing, but just to play off of that, you could say that there is work in healing, and there are goals to wanting to heal. It like to heal is an ambition. Even if you were, like, let's say, if you are a professional athlete who tore your Achilles or your MCL, you have to commit to doing the work to heal, to rehab, and you have a goal that I want to be back on the field or on the court by this time, which Saturn is the god of time. So,
And is
it
Saturn is about goal directed behavior? Is that what
oh
you're?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. Saturn rules Capricorn, and the goal of Capricorn is the goat to climb from the valley to the top of the mountain. Saturn also rules Aquarius. The goal of Aquarius is to collect the water and bring it to the village. So Saturn is about goals
Hmm.
and work, the work that is required to achieve those goals.
Yeah, interesting.
hmm So it could play into healing. Nothing is like, just, no, this is my territory here. You can't get in here, Saturn. You know,
Right.
Neptune. Like, it's not like, I always look to see, like, how do they play together. They're not all in a box.
Yeah.
They are working together.
I've often heard in astrological terms Saturn as the taskmaster,
hmm
and I've. Do you look at it that way as well? That it can be like that?
It's the authority, and the authority may give you tasks to achieve,
I
goals or
see.
directives to achieve, for
Because
sure.
if that's true, the way I've looked at it is that those tasks can be harder or easier depending on how in alignment we are. Right? If we're out of alignment, if we're not going for our goals in the right course, then that Saturn influence can be like a bitch slap that realigns us, where that all of that can affect our health if we're out of alignment. I'm looking at it from a mind body spirit connection point of view, that if there's any way in which we're out of alignment with the work we need to do or the path we need to be on, that's going to affect our health and well-being. And Saturn's realignment is going to affect us totally in all aspects. So that's how I've kind of put that together previously,
hmm
that Saturnian influence lines us up, mind, body, spirit, and then rebalances us in that sense,
Yeah. It's giving you the structure that you need to achieve your goals.
all across the board.
Exactly. If your health isn't right, then you're not going
Right.
to be able to achieve your working goals.
Interesting. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
an interesting further nuance to how I was looking at it. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if I said that I thought Saturn as the healer, or that just kind of was that was came out. Um, but I mean it more like it's the way that you line your life up, where I look at health as a matter of alignment, like in a Ayurvedic and acupuncture, Chinese meridian kind of sense, that not in an allopathic sense, but that our health is all about lining it up and getting clear and in alignment, and then our health flows.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's true of everything. It's true
Yes.
financially, emotionally, and everything.
Exactly. And that's, Saturn is like the disciplinarian. It's like, if you want to achieve your goals, then your finances need to be right, your health needs to be right, your relationships need to be right, all of it. It's not just, and when you think about the signs too, like, they all build off of each other. Saturn, it rules the 10th and 11th signs, Capricorn and Aquarius. It's not the first two signs.
Hmm.
It's the 10th and 11th sign. So it's resonating back through the zodiac. That if you want to achieve this level where you have accomplished your goals and ambitions in terms of your career, if you want to achieve something in a broader perspective where now you've contributed to the community in a meaningful way and the community's given back to you, then you need to know who you are. You need to know what you want or what you value. You need to know how to communicate that to others. You need to know how to nurture yourself. You need to know what brings you joy. You need to commit to a daily practice that is supporting you along your journey. You need to have partners that are going to support you. You need to be willing to be intimate or vulnerable. Can't do it on your own. You need to have a clear philosophy of what life is. Why are you going after what you're going? What is your mission? Once you have completed those 9 tasks, now you're on your way to achieving your goals and ambitions. And once you've achieved your goals and ambitions, now you're willing to contribute to the community, the greater whole.
That's interesting too, in the sense that after in the life path, the Saturn number 6, we go to the transition point of the 7, which is about how do you pivot and up level your life.
Mm-hmm.
And 7 is about more of an altruistic, communal oriented approach to life, which seems to map onto what you just described about the 10th and 11th house of Capricorn and Aquarius. It's different numbers in that sense, but that same pivotal step is similar. Where,
Yes.
yeah.
Hmm.
So okay, let's finish up with the 9, which is associated with the planet Pluto,
Hmm.
where the 9 is a ladder. So 8 Neptune is the illusion, the flow, the healing, flowing it all together from unconscious to conscious. I liked how you said that. That's a nice aspect to it. And then Pluto is the 9, and the 9 is a ladder where you climb down the ladder, you climb up the ladder. And the ladder, it's about stepping to the next level. So it's about transformation, it's about paradigm shift. Climbing down the ladder is you go down to hell, you go down into your dark place, into your shadows. Climbing up the ladder brings you transcendence, where you go to the next level of your life. So I felt like that maps pretty closely onto the meaning of Pluto. But what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the first thing that popped into my mind when you showed me the card, and I love the ladder metaphor. I can definitely see that, but what comes into my mind is obsession.
Mm.
And it's like you've got 4 diamonds lined up on either side of one single diamond in the center. It's like, where does your attention go? It goes to the one in the center. And that is the essence of Pluto. It's an incredibly willful planet. It's obsessive. It's you know, single-minded. Single-minded, that there is nothing that's going to stop me from getting to that one point. And that's the essence of Pluto. Like, Pluto's that planet that they don't call it a planet anymore, but it won't go away. It's
Right.
still there.
Can't get
And
rid of me,
that's
bitches.
exactly. And that's kind of like that middle diamond right there. It's like, wait, why is that there? That's not supposed to be there. But it's there and it's not going anywhere. And it indicates the obsession.
Well, what's interesting about what you're saying, to build on that, is that in the cards, when you do something to the 9s, you're doing it to the maximum. You're doing it to the nth degree, and it
Mm-hmm.
can get obsessive and it can get extreme. So whenever we have this 9 energy, whatever is our Pluto energy, that can be something that we do to the extreme,
Mm-hmm.
and or we get obsessive about it. But also that it can be hidden in our own shadows, and we may not even see that we're doing that.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, Pluto's like secrets. It's the underworld.
Yep.
God of death, Lord of the underworld. So there may be something hidden beneath the surface there.
Yep. And that's what
Yes.
I'm always teaching my clients is that whatever is the Pluto card in our life path, the ninth card, that's where we may have hidden secrets or we're not seeing ourselves clearly. We have something in our own shadows. Um, could be something that we're obsessive about, fixated on, doing it to the nth degree. But we need to bring it out of our shadows, whatever that
Mm.
is. Is that true also in astrological terms that wherever Pluto is in the chart, that's something that we want to shine a light on more and bring out into the light more?
I like that. I think of Pluto as like the bringer of light to the darkness.
Oh, yeah,
And so uh like your Pluto's in Libra in the 8th house, so you want to bring light to not only relationships but to the magical realm.
because it's the eighth house.
The 8th house is the psychic house, the house of the sixth sense. It's like, what, these are just a deck of cards. What are you talking about? All
Right,
this, like,
right,
this is for poker and Texas Hold'em and
right,
casinos and my grandma playing bridge with her friends. It's like, what are you talking about? This has the meaning of life in the cards,
right.
but that's your Pluto in the 8th house. It's like, no, let me show you what's really here.
Mm,
You're
yeah,
bringing light to secrets.
yeah,
This is a hidden. What have you said? It's hidden in plain sight. The
yeah,
meaning of,
yeah.
it's like that's that's your Pluto in the 8th house.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What is your Pluto positioning in your astrological code?
So my Pluto's in the 6th house, which is the house of service. So uh, I have a strong will to be of service to others.
Hmm,
This is why I was a waiter for 20 years, even though I hated it in a lot of respects. I also really took my job seriously,
hmm,
and it really mattered to me to be of service to other people. That when they sat down in my section, they were going to have an exceptional experience. They were going to be taken care of, even though I didn't necessarily like my job, but I didn't let that get in the way of like my will to be of service. And it's same in what I'm doing here, where I'm being of service to the people who listen to this podcast, who are signing up for enrolling in my classes, or
hmm.
reaching out to me for reading or working with me weekly. I'm of service to them, and so I'm bringing light to the mundane of daily life, and showing how you can utilize this magic, because Pluto is a magical planet, but how you can utilize this magic in your daily life.
So it's in the sixth house. What sign is it in?
It's in Libra, like you.
Oh, oh, okay.
Yeah, everybody who was born between 1972 to 1984 was born with Pluto and Libra.
Oh,
So
right,
it's
because
about
it's
bringing
slow moving planet. Okay,
exactly.
gotcha.
So it's about bringing light to relationships.
Hmm,
And so, I have a strong desire there to help
interesting.
people understand how to relate to others, to bring balance and peace, to bring light to balance and peace and harmony and fairness.
Hmm,
That's our generation.
interesting.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it
Yes.
in terms of your cards. Um, so I kind of peel the onion a little deeper in terms of the complexity of the cards. It's a simple system that gets complex relatively
Mm-hmm.
quickly.
Yeah.
We can look at the life path of your personality card as well. So if we
Mm-hmm.
do that for your Jack of Clubs, which is your Mars card in your life path, it is now your personality card. We find that the Pluto card of the Jack of Clubs is the Two of Spades, which is the two is all about service,
Yes.
cooperation, teamwork, doing things together, and being a good team player, being a good partner,
Okay.
being like, wanting to build that synergy, as we talked about the meaning of the two, to create that connection.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, that's the Pluto card of the Jack of Clubs, which is your personality card. Your birth card, the Seven of Clubs, has the Pluto card of the Jack of Diamonds. And the Jack of Diamonds is the generator of wealth.
Hmm.
And so, in a card reading, card sense of interpretation, I would say that there's ways in which you can generate wealth that maybe you haven't seen, or you're still bringing to light, or you're still illuminating that, but that actually that's really important to you. And
Mm-hmm.
maybe you don't even want to show how much it is you want to make money. Maybe you don't want to reveal that necessarily, but secretly you might be really obsessive about it. Like, how
Well,
much
yeah.
can I make money? The Jack of Diamonds, I want to make money.
Yeah.
And so that's the card way of looking at it. Do you see that in your chart as well, that there's that influence there too?
Yeah. Oh, that I want to make money?
Yeah,
That I mean, definitely, it's I was born with Mars in the second house, which is the house that represents the house of security, which represents material well-being. So I have always had a drive to make money, but at the same time, I don't want to make money for the sake of making money. That doesn't work for me. It's like I've tried it before. It doesn't feel good and it doesn't work the way that I want it to.
interesting.
Because my South Node is in Taurus, which is the sign that represents my money. So the only way that I make money is by merging power with others, by not thinking about just myself, but how I can help others transform. When I help other people transform, when I bring light to other people, that's when people send me money. They give me money because I'm helping them. So if like I
Interesting.
was working on Wall Street in finance or something, it would not work for me unless I was making other people money along the way. But if I was in it for myself, it wouldn't work.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah.
that's really interesting, because the Jack of Diamonds in Pluto would say that for your life path, that the Jack of Diamonds in the shadows, he's unethical and just he's in it for himself, with
Hmm.
an end justifies the means, Wall Street type attitude, where whatever I can do to make a buck, if I have to, kill my own mother for a buck, I will. Like, that's the Jack of Diamonds in Pluto, in the
Yeah.
low side.
Yep.
But the high side, when you climb back up the ladder, and there's a more transcendent, more enlightened view of the Jack of Diamonds, is I want to generate wealth that benefits everyone. I want the wealth that is the true wealth, like the treasure in heaven that doesn't rust or corrode. I want to
Hmm.
generate that wealth. And giving people knowledge of their life path and their life journey and who they are and why they're here, that's wealth that you can't put a price on.
Exactly.
I mean, you can, but like it's priceless, and
Yes.
that's the Jack of Diamonds in Pluto. Is you want to generate the wealth that is truly priceless.
Yes. Exactly.
So it's a different lens to say the same thing you just said.
Yep. Love that.
So yeah,
Very cool. Very cool.
cool. Well, we got through the nine
We
numbers and the
did.
nine planets.
We'll have to come back and do all the signs.
Yeah, I would like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. That's the next episode we'll do. Get
Sounds
into the
good.
signs. I love it. Love the conversation, Alexander. So much fun to just share the knowledge with you, and I hope the audience enjoyed receiving the knowledge from us as well.
Yeah, thank you.
Where can people find you? They want to connect with you.
Sure. Our website is thesourcecards.com, and you can go there and get your free reading, find out the meaning of your birth card and your personality card.
Very cool. Very cool. Go to thesourcecards.com and get your free reading. learn about your birth card and your personality card. Yeah?
Yeah.
Amazing. That's so cool. Well, thank you again, Alexander, and we'll
Yeah.
look forward to seeing you again soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me, Scott.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening to the Weekly Transit, interviews and conversations from an astrological lens. This episode was produced by me, Scott Tajarian. Music written by Ben Leinbach from Listen Deep by Amber Herzog Lyman. If you're interested in being a guest on the Weekly Transit, you can email me at scott@theweeklytransit.com. Wishing you all the best as you ride the planetary waves.